Welcome to The Journey. I'm your host, Connie Salika, and Julieann Hartman is a guest on her own show. This has been turning the table a little bit,
Yes.
and this is episode 5 of her journey, and it has been really an amazing journey. I've had fun, and I've been in a little bit of shock. I'm not going to deny it. She knows. But it's this part of it is the part that I was absolutely looking forward to, and hearing how you came to know Andrew Wommack,
Right.
which is how we know each other,
Right.
And you know, I want to hear about your illness, and
Right.
that's where we left off on episode 4.
Yes.
Learning that you were starting to get sick, and you were at Crenshaw Church at the time that you were starting to get sick, and you knew about healing at Crenshaw?
I did, yeah, because they would have healing lines at every day, every Sunday when they would do, the service, or even on Bible study. So I prayed for many people and I saw healing.
So when you started getting sick, did you...
It's funny because it's really interesting. The devil kind of creeps up sometimes.
Of course.
Because I didn't realize, okay, something's not right. But then I was so caught up in I don't feel good and this has got to be over, that I was almost like forgetting my Christian walk. Like it was like I was so focused on finding a doctor.
Because that healing that you were experiencing at church was not for you.
Right, exactly. But I was so focused on that, the remedy or the supplements they were giving me, and how is that going to change? And then I got to take this or I got to take that, and I got to find another doctor to handle this and that. I was literally, my calendar was full of doctor appointments.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about your symptoms. Last episode you talked about just, feeling pain, and the pain just kept getting worse. But was there depression? Was there
absolutely
fatigue?
Yeah,
and
all of the above.
Yes,
and I'm a very active person. I'm not, I don't sit around much. But that's why it was just, everything was becoming so much harder. And, for the person who I've said many times, I love to work out, I was starting to not want to work out.
And your kids were how old now?
They were just, 11, 2000, I can't do the math real quick.
Okay.
But they were young. They were in...
they still needed their mother.
Yeah, middle school and just starting middle school, just starting high school.
They needed mom.
Totally. This is like the time when they need them the most.
And you had already given up your career to be home with your children.
For many years.
Then you got sick.
Yeah.
For many years.
Yeah, so so when somebody works out as many hours a day and as many days a week that I did, and you stop suddenly, you really can go into a depression. Yeah,
sure.
And so I didn't know that. I had this one doctor that I was going to. It's so funny how all the different ones I went to.
So the first doctor, though, was the Western doctor. And he gave you those strong pain pills that said caution could cause cancer.
Right.
So you didn't want to go back to another
But no one
Western
gave
doctor.
me a diagnosis.
He didn't.
He did not. He just said...
Could be from your working out.
Yeah, he goes, I don't know
these.
what's going on. It could be a lot of things, but this will make it better. And so, like I said, I was not satisfied with that. And so I was very angry at the fact that it could cause cancer. So I went to another doctor and another one and another one. These are all Western doctors, and I kept getting the same thing. We don't know what's going on. It could be many things, But there was, and then they would
frustrating.
say, and then they would say that, well, there's some kind of, autoimmune diseases that you really can't even detect if we did a test. I had blood tests taken all the time. There was nothing.
And there was nothing in the blood?
No, and my husband would come with me on result day, and we'd be sitting there, and it did get to the point where I'm like, please, something be wrong.
So you had an answer, something to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Butch would be sitting in there with me, and they'd say, well, we got your test results. Yeah, everything is perfect. And I'd be like, no. There's got to be something wrong.
So were they trying to tell you that it was mental in your head?
That's what this one lady had said to me. She goes, she's kind of like, put the arm around you. I really feel for you. I see that you're so upset, you're so sad, and you're coming here all the time.
And you're suffering.
And you're crying all the time. I think a lot of this, is psychological. And I'm like, no, it's not psychological. But what I was doing was I got so involved in the searching for the problem. I would get online. WebMD was not my friend because I would come up with the most ridiculous things. I'd be home all day. Butch would come home and I'd say, okay, I have leukemia. He'd be like, what? Well, it's a rare form. See, look right here. See all those symptoms? That's what I have. Or whatever. I would come up with all these crazy, endocrine, that's how you say the word.
Endocrine,
issues. And I would come up with so many things. And he'd say, Julieann, no, you're healed. And it got to the point where times where I would say, stop saying that to me because I'm not healed. I don't feel healed. That's not fair that you're saying that. You're making me feel pressured that I've got to be healed right now in front of you. And I'm not, and so and I'm sure that there are people out there that have had the same thing happen. That you start to get angry at the people that are speaking life over you. Now, was that the spirit of infirmity that was on the inside of me? I think so. That was the one that was answering back because why would I get mad at him for telling me I was healed?
Well, for you, it was denying your symptoms.
Yeah.
And you were still experiencing the symptoms, the pain, the depression, the anxiety, the fatigue. And somebody is saying, no, you're not, you don't have those. Because there was no understanding of what true healing was at that point.
Well, I also became okay, now look at how this works. When you've got like trauma from your past and you become very sensitive to things. You become sensitive emotionally, I mean, maybe women become more sensitive. I don't know. I'm a woman. I only know myself. But I was very sensitive to a lot of things. And I believe that led me into chemical sensitivity. Because going
when you say chemical sensitivity, chemicals in your house and household
everywhere,
cleaning things and
So because I've asked the Lord so many questions about this, and a lot of things I've asked the Lord, I actually had to ask Him later in life, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Only because as we get progressively down the storyline, but I became so allergic to chemicals. I mean, anything. Hairspray. I could not put anything in my hair. It had to be no fragrance, hairspray, shampoo, soap, anything.
Hair dye.
Hair dye. No, I couldn't. I did this weird thing with this henna, and I looked like my head was glowing because red henna over gray hair does not flatter you whatsoever. It was bad. I wish I would have had your hair color. But I had to do my hair outside, and the woman that does my hair in her backyard. I couldn't be in the same room. My daughters could not wear any cute, like sprays. When I couldn't get my nails done anymore. If I did, if I felt confident one day, I'd go in, but I'd wear a mask. This is before masks came out. I'd wear a mask. There's all kinds of crazy.
And you were telling the doctors this?
Yes.
And did they run tests to see how you reacted to these chemicals? Or?
Some of the tests they wanted to do, I was not going to do them. They were too invasive. I didn't want to. I did a few steps, but then I started getting into the alternative doctors.
Okay.
So they were doing a lot of weird stuff too. I had this one guy, this is really funny.
How many different doctors did you go to?
Well, we spent over $300,000.
Over how long a period of time?
About a year and a half.
You were sick for a year and a half?
Oh, I was sick for way longer than that.
How long were you sick?
For a total of 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was completely not one symptom after 7 years. Probably for the first or the last 2 years, I was more symptom free, but I still would go back to that place, that bad place at times. But I had this one doctor that a friend of mine said, you need to go see this doctor, because no one knew what was wrong. So, he'll find it. People fly in all over, to see him. So I'm like, oh, great. It took 6 months to get the appointment.
And how much did you pay?
It was for your first visit was $395. And then, of course, then the supplements were more and all that stuff because no insurance doesn't pay for that. And so he does this thing. Give me your hand. He does this thing where he goes like, I'm not kidding. He was like, boop, 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 with his fingers. Okay, I know what's going on. You do? And what was so funny is my daughter Sophia was in the room, and we looked at each other, and that was it. I lost it with laughing because she looked at me like, where are we? Where have you taken me? And he gave me, this is the worst thing that ever happened though. He gave me this supplement that he made in his lab. So he did this thing where he like all over me, makes it, he comes out and he goes, now, and I kept saying, now please, I'm very sensitive to everything. I cannot take a full dose of everything, of anything you're gonna give me. Okay, don't worry, this is the lowest, like there's nothing left in this. Okay, are you sure? Yes. So I'm like, okay, here we go. You know, I've got, you know, all this stuff on the counter. You take it at this time and that. I take one capsule and I've got it in my hand and I'm shaking because I'm afraid to take it. And I'm shaking. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, I can't do this. I can't take the whole thing, but maybe I can take half. So I empty half of it out, put it together, I take it. Within 20 minutes, my whole body now is shaking. And I literally for 8 hours walked my whole property because I could not sit still. And I'm calling
him
and no one's answering because he only flies in a couple days. So no one can help me. No one can tell me like, okay, drink more water, whatever. And I went and I sat on every point that I could sit at on my front yard, my backyard, shaking.
Julieann, how did this state that you were in, how did that affect your marriage?
Well, at times it was tough because my husband was trying to be supportive, but I would not let him at times. I was angry, number one. You know, one of those crazy doctors, she told me, she said, you can't work out anymore, but I want you to walk. And I'm like, I'm not walking. Do you know who I am? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm known for my abs and my arms. Like, I don't walk. But I finally did, and I started walking. My first year, I yelled at God literally, I walked 5 days a week, and I told God how mad I was.
Because you knew him by now.
I knew God by now. But what's interesting is that I still don't know him, of course, the way I know him now. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even close to that. But I did know about healing. I was reading scriptures.
Saved.
I was saved, yes. But when it came to me, things had changed. But for somebody else, I had no problem. But for me, I was like stuck. It was like numb, nothing. Mm. But I put my husband through a lot of hell. I really did. I remember one time I went to go visit my mom in Texas. And I'm sure my husband was like, oh, thank God I got a few weeks away from her. And I come home, and so we had gone to the grocery store. And so it's just me and him. And I was a good actress. I would put on a big show for the girls that I was fine and, you know. But it was just me and him, and he goes, nothing's changed, has it? And I went, no. And I told him in the car, I said, you know what? I love you that much that I'm going to help you out here. I think that I should leave.
You said that.
Yeah. And
now, when you went to Texas, did you take the girls with you?
I took the girls with me. We were all together. You know, my mom was there. My sister was there. And I said, I really think you should leave. I said, because I don't know how to get out of this. Mm. I don't know how this is ever going to change. I really don't know.
And you thought you were being kind to him.
Yes.
To give him an out.
Yeah. I thought, you know what? You don't deserve it. I'll be the one who moves because the girls are set with, you know, they don't need to come with me. I'll be the one who moves. And then until I figure this out or something changes. And again, when you don't know the Lord.
You must have been at the very bottom to be able to say that.
I was. I totally was. Mm. And then I had the thoughts in my head of like, well, why don't you just, what would be even better, Julieann, is if you weren't here at all. Oh. Right? And I kept hearing that. Maybe I shouldn't even be here at all. And one day I spoke out loud in my car. I said, you know what? You know, Butch will be fine with the girls because we've raised them really well. They know God. They know Jesus. And they'd get over it. This is the conversation I'm having in the car with myself. They'll get over it at some point. And they'll be fine without me. I mean, if I were to die. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
And man, the Lord just whipped that around and changed that in me. But that's how
How did you let go of that?
Well, because it's like you kind of come to your senses. Wait a minute. What does that mean? You know, I started going to the scenario of what does that look like when the girls don't have their mom anymore?
Okay.
Like what would, that would be crazy. But see, when the devil wants to mess with you, He doesn't just stop at a level you're like, okay, don't mess with me anymore. No, he's going to keep going until you know who you are in Christ and you don't allow him to talk to you anymore. That is the key that was missing. I got so sick and so sad and so depressed that I just let him oppress me. I didn't have a voice anymore to even resist him. You know, the Bible says, submit to God, resist the devil, and he'll flee. Mm-hmm. I wasn't doing either one of those.
Even though you knew.
I knew to do it. But again, you get so caught up in that. What's my next schedule? What's my next doctor appointment?
What's your next pill to take?
Yeah, what's the next pill? And is this going to be the appointment that changes everything? I went to this doctor. He looked like a hobbit, all right? An osteopath. I walk in and there's just like a bed and all these crystals everywhere. And I'm like, sitting there going, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. I should not be here. This is wrong. This is not even what I believe. And my body would start that shake. So he had me lay down on this bed, and all he did was he held my ankles. And he said, do you eat meat? And I said, well, actually, no, I thought I should become a vegetarian because that would probably help me in my situation. And he goes, oh, no. You lion.
You're lying?
You're a lion, like a roar.
Oh.
You a lion, you need meat. I went, I do? Oh, thank God. I'll start eating tonight.
Permission to eat meat.
Yeah. But I mean, he had like the hair coming out of his ears. He was scary looking. His knuckles had hair coming out. But because my friend had gone to him, she had leaky gut. And this is what she told me. I walked in and he goes, you have leaky gut. Here, take this. And it was gone within a day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my answer. This is my answer. You see how we do these things. We're desperate. This is my answer. He's going to look at me and tell me. So he says to me, he goes, I think you have something called fibromyalgia. I said,
is that the first time you heard that?
Yeah. And I said, all right. So he said, I suggest you go see this doctor. So I went over there. It was in Marina Del Rey. I get in there, and this is what the doctor did. He literally went like this, pinched down here, felt around and said, yep, you have fibromyalgia. There's no cure for it. And he said, but you do, there's something
But this is another alternative doctor. This is not a Western.
No, I'm sorry. This was a Western. I went back to a Western.
Oh, okay.
And for whatever reason, because the Hobbit guy told me to go see this. Again, this was my life every day.
But did he at least take more blood work?
No, that's what he said. There's no blood work to this. Now, this is back in, 08, 09. There's no blood work to it. But he says, but doing the mapping I just did by touching you, by squeezing, this is what you have. So he said, I could give you this or that, but then if you take this, then you can't have this one certain ingredient that runs in all of makeup and hair. And so I was taking this supplement, but I had to go to the store, and we had the kids come out. We're in, Rite Aid, and everybody's reading the bottle to make sure it didn't have the ingredient that would counteract the drug he was going to give me. Do you see the bondage?
Oh yes, I hear it.
The bondage.
Wow.
I was afraid to do anything. Do you see what happens? When the enemy goes in, man, he goes in like a flood trying to completely steal, kill, and destroy you.
And were you going to Crenshaw Church at that time?
I was, but not as much. We left in 2010 just because we felt our kids needed friends in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And we were going an hour and a half down to... Yeah. So we started going to this other church, and...
I want to know at what point you turned on the TV and heard this strange voice.
Well, actually, it was when I was in Texas. My mom would go to work and leave all the TVs on. And all the TVs would be TBN, Daystar, whatever.
She knew what she was doing.
Yes, she did. And so...
So she had already discovered Andrew?
No, she just would keep it on for me to make sure I was listening to the word.
Okay, so did she come to know the Lord? I lost that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. Well,
Yeah.
she got saved the same day we all got saved at Crenshaw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's...
Okay.
And she was 62 years old. So that's a tough one because you've gone 62 years.
And with her story.
Yeah, in the world.
Yeah.
How do you just change it overnight?
And she wasn't married at that point?
No. Actually, yeah, she was married.
Oh, she was.
That was her fourth marriage. But anyway, he was a good guy.
Okay.
That'll be on the Janet Carletto Wright story.
So you're down in Texas.
So I'm visiting my mom.
And she's left all the TVs on and she's gone to work.
Yes.
ahead.
And this guy comes on the TV, and I'm like, oh my God, turn him off. What a boring pastor or preacher or evangelist, whatever you are, I don't even know. But man, someone would fall asleep. If you had insomnia.
And were
he
you
would be the
used
one
to
watch.
that kind of accent yet? I know you were in Texas, and he has a Texas accent, but were you used to that?
No, I wasn't.
Those of you, I'm sure a lot of you know who we're talking about when we're talking about Andrew Wommack, and you know about his accent. And it was also one of our introductions, to Andrew was, are we really going to listen to this accent? And the person who gave it to us said, if you can get through the accent, listen to him because he has an amazing message. Indeed, he did have an amazing message for us while we were going through my husband's cancer journey. And that's when we were introduced to Andrew. But that accent was a big part of the invitation when she said, please listen to this, but get over the accent. So you heard that accent too.
Oh, it was bad. So I just thought, man, if I have insomnia, he'd be the one to watch or listen to because I would just fall asleep. And it's like when you don't have the ears to hear, you don't have the ears to hear. And so, that was... that was in I believe it was the summer of 2009, and so I went home, with the girls. That's when I went and told my husband that I should leave, and then I actually later on, like that next week, I said, well, maybe you should leave, and all these crazy things. But one thing I did not mention is that when we started going to these doctors, we got so deep into this that we started tearing our house up because this one lady that I found online,
fungus and mold, and
a lady that I found online that was a chemical specialist because I was so sensitive, she said, I think your house is killing you. And I'm like, it is.
and pay me $10,000 to take it out.
Oh, yeah, more than that.
More than that, yeah.
So we tore our house apart, and that was crazy. So we had to move out of our house and live in a hotel for 10 weeks while they fixed up my house. And there was like a little bit of mold. It was on one side of the wall, but it wasn't even on the side of the wall that was in the house. But when you get desperate, you'll do anything, and that's why I know how you feel out there when you're watching these shows. You're trying to find someone that you can relate to. You are desperate yourself. You're going to these crazy things. You're thinking all this crazy stuff. You're going on the internet. You're willing to listen to anybody. I found books or teachers online that I would get their books, and I'm reading it going, I know enough about the Word that this is not the Word of God. And I would take these books or these DVDs and stuff, and I would go down to one of the dumpsters, like down at, one of the grocery stores, and throw them in the trash. I realized I brought so much into the house, so much
toxic.
crazy stuff, crazy teachings. That's why I'm so passionate when it comes to bad doctrine.
Yeah.
Because think about it, I could have very easily been caught up in that and said, oh, this is the truth. Oh, well, this is what I have to do, and this is what I have to stop doing.
Which is God has decided to do this to you.
Yeah.
That it's
kinds of
his
crazy.
will for you to be sick. And then you start believing that, you could have still been sick. But at this point, were you realizing that your instinct was so right about this guy, Butch Hartman? At this point, that when you were going through this and he was sticking with you?
Yeah. Oh, just amazing. We talk to a lot of people, of course, on healing journeys today, and that becomes a big problem. The spouse, the caretaker, the spouse. It's not an easy job, and you know that. You know that firsthand. And so of saying like, no, you're getting out of that bed. You're getting up now. We're not putting up with this. It's time. And start speaking life over yourself, Julieann. Quit falling into this trap. We would go to. We would take me away for the night, but I couldn't go into the room because they sprayed something in the hotel room that I couldn't be around because all of a sudden I'd start shaking. My body would shake. It was crazy, all this stuff. But that's why I tell people this all the time. It's like, there was not a drug to get rid of chemical sensitivity. God delivered me from that. I did not take a supplement to get rid of that. Matter of fact, the supplements, and I bought them all. So imagine this whole table
Filled
with supplements. I bought them all. Did I take them all? No. I took a few. But those were not the ones that healed me. When I finally, one day, I would call Andrew Wommack Ministries prayer line.
Wait a minute. Go. What led you to make the call? Because you've left
Oh,
him.
right,
You've
right,
left him
okay.
in Texas.
Okay, left him
And
in Texas. Thank God for her, because she's keeping me on track. So I go home, and my sister and I are at our house. She was working at our house. And I went in my family room for some reason and turned on the TV. Like, I never do that. Here's Andrew. And I went, oh, Felicia, there's that really boring guy on TV again. Oh my gosh, I could not even, and I can't get the TV to turn.
It won't change.
No, but then he says something that changed everything.
Do you remember what it
Yes.
was?
He was talking about a guy that had come to him that had Parkinson's. And he said, the guy says to me, I've spoken to my body and the shaking is gone except for my right hand. It won't stop shaking. So Andrew goes, so I told him, tell your right hand to stop shaking. And I did, and he did, and it stopped shaking. And I went, stop. What did you just say? So I rewound it, I listened, and that made me go over to my computer and start downloading every teaching of
On the
his.
authority that you have.
On everything. Everything. It was, God wants you well.
Yep.
It's the authority of the believer. It was
A Better Way to Pray.
A better way to pray. It was, oh my gosh, so many.
Our first one was A Better Way to Pray.
I could, sometimes people say, which one? I'm like, all of them.
All of them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
all of them, because
His
I
new
need it.
one, by the way, on the Book of Romans is amazing.
It's everything that, and what I love is that, I obviously didn't have the ears to hear him the year before, but all of a sudden.
So there was a whole year
Yeah.
between being introduced to him in
Yeah.
Texas and you, in the
So
family
now
room.
I'm hearing him, and I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. And so I just literally dove in there, and I absorbed everything. And then I would call the prayer line constantly. Help, I need help, I need help. Because what would happen
That's what
is,
it's there for.
Yes.
That prayer line is there for that reason.
And that's why we encourage the people that are watching our show as well, all of it. If you need prayer, they are 24/7.
During the
you
week,
can't get-
24/7.
Yeah, and then I think on the weekends,
Weekends,
they're
it's-
8 hours or something.
Yeah, I'm not
But
sure.
that's what listen, that's what changed my life. And I would call, and I know I'm like, oh, I know it's me again, but I would call sometimes because I would feel like I needed to go to the ER. I would make lots of ER visits.
Wow.
And there literally came a day where I said, I'm drawing a line today. I'm not going anymore.
And you called the prayer line instead?
I called the prayer line instead, and we drew the line together in that prayer. And I said, it's like I drew a line, and I said, I'm not crossing this line. And trust me, there were many days where I was like scared, going, I could die here. But then I thought, you know what? I don't even care. Fine, let me die here. But I can't keep doing this anymore. And I know that God, was not going, yeah, fine, just die, Julieann. But that was life-changing, though, to have
But was
somebody.
Butch listening to Andrew at the same
Yes.
time you were?
So now he's listening, I'm listening. It's on our iPads, it's on my computer, it's everywhere. It's on my, well then as technology progressed,
Right.
I'd have it, I'd be vacuuming.
On your phone,
I'd
in
be
your ears.
cleaning. I'd have the DVDs in the car when I go pick up the girls from school. And, I was not without hearing this, which brought me to reading in the Bible again. It's like
Yes.
I'd stop being, when you have that many appointments on your calendar,
You don't have time.
you don't have time to read the word. But that's what brought me there. One time before I drew the line, it was really bad. I was having so many heart issues. That would happen all the time. And this one guy, I knew him because his kids went to school with our kids. But I went in there to see him, and he goes, honestly, if you come back, I'm putting a pacemaker in you.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, I'm not getting a pacemaker. He goes, then I don't know what to do. You keep coming back, and you have the same. We had all the halters. Constantly. Like, Mom, what's that wire coming out of your chest? Oh, it's nothing as I'm
Right,
shoving it
right.
down,
So, but Andrew's teachings is what led you to take that authority over your body
Yes.
and put an end to your symptoms, an end to the medicines, an end to the supplements, and an end to your
It was
your
little by
sickness.
little.
Of course.
Little by little. When I had gone to the ER that last time, they told me, they kept me overnight, and they said, you need to go see a neurologist because it looks like you have MS. And another doctor told me I had lupus. Another one said I had, the thyroid thing, Hashimoto's. And, I mean, I had all kinds of diagnoses. They told me I had diabetes. They said.
And were you at the point still where you were appreciating having a diagnosis, or
Yes.
were you scared?
I was, but I was happy but now, as the word now is starting to fill me, and I'm like, well, now I know I've got something at least I can stand against. So the last straw was when we went to a neurologist, and they did a brain scan. And you know how Daniel Amstutz of Kara said that when he went into the MRI and the beat made him come up with that song?
Oh,
yeah.
no.
My body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. It's
that's from that.
Bum, 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 bum.
Okay.
I could totally relate. Because when they did the scan on my brain, all you hear is that bump, 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 bump noise.
Yes.
That was freaky. But anyway, I went to the neurologist, and he said, he goes, your brain is perfect. There's no sign of anything.
And Butch said, come on, look again.
No. But he goes, your brain is perfect. You don't have MS. You don't have Alzheimer's. You don't have any, because I would get brain fog.
And then
I
at
couldn't
what
even
point
think.
did you accept that God said that you're perfect?
Well, that's when, like I said, after that, and then I said, I'm drawing the line now. And I remember I was in my kitchen, and I had tile where there was a line, and I drew, I imagined that was the line.
Okay.
And I wasn't going to do it anymore. But this is what happened from this point. From this point, remember I told you about those walks?
Yes.
The first year I cussed him. I yelled at him, at the Lord. The second year, he said, now will you let me talk to you?
And you still walk every day.
Yes.
Every day this woman takes a walk and talks to
If
the
I
Lord.
don't, God help my whole family.
Right.
But that's what saved my life. That walk literally saved my life, because I started going in and asking him, what is wrong with me? I'd ask the Lord. On my walk, I'd get down my driveway.
And
Lord,
what answer did you
what's
get?
wrong with me? And what I love, Connie, was just amazing. You know, he could not, if he would have thrown everything at me that first time I asked, it would have been, I
much.
probably wouldn't be able to handle it. But little by little, he started revealing things to me. And there were times where I'd say, okay, my sister says that there was molestation in her. This is me and the Lord. My sister says that there was molestation going on in the family. Was I molested? And I asked him.
Your dad?
Yeah. No, I asked God.
No, but are we
From my
talking-
real father.
Yeah.
And he said, why do you need to know? And I said, because I don't know. Is that going to change anything? He said, no. And those are the kind of questions. And also, like, why do I act this way? Lord, tell me, why do I have this attitude towards this? Lord, tell me, why did I make those choices? Why did I do that? Why did I have such a problem with men? Like, I asked him everything. Everything from my past came in and got revealed. And he literally took away the sting of all of it. I mean, like, if
Praise
it was,
the Lord.
yes, if it was in me and it was holding on to me and not letting me live and grow and be and have my way, it was all getting like put, and that's why I say that path I walked, and I still do,
Yes.
is a path of tears. I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried.
And you have come to the point where you realize that a lot of what got you sick was emotional.
All of it.
All of it.
That's why I believe that fibromyalgia is an emotional sickness. I just do. The Lord revealed that to me, and I even had a doctor one time, not one that I had gone to, but one that heard my testimony.
And he did
On
hear,
a
because I was going to
stage.
say, by the way, did any of these doctors hear your testimony?
Well, I was at Grace and Faith with Andrew in England, and Andrew had me get up and give my testimony. And a man met me in the lobby later, and he goes, you know what? I can't do this publicly, but I'm going to tell you, you're right. It's an emotional sickness. And I'm like, I know it is, because I know I had to get healed. My heart had to get healed. Think about it. When it says that guard your heart with all diligence,
Yes.
why are you guarding your heart? Because that's your life.
Yes, that is your
And
life.
that's the life source.
You had your past damage, and then you were experiencing this emotional trauma
Right.
at the time you got sick. So that's what you say. It was your past and your present, and you just went down.
And it all hit together. And that's why, you know, when he comes to steal, kill, and destroy, he just doesn't stop at the little things. Like
John 10:10.
Yes, he's coming in to completely derail you. You know,
It's
he
the
wants,
only reason he comes.
That's it.
I have to go back. I have to go back to one thing that I need an answer to. How did you get rid of saying the bad language?
Oh, well, honestly, it was when I was pregnant with Carly, my oldest daughter. I just said, I can't cuss anymore. And literally, the cuss was removed out of my mouth. I never cussed again to this day. That was 26 years ago.
Is that right?
I'm
Never
telling
again?
you.
Never tempted? Never
Never-
got mad?
no.
Never stubbed your toe?
No. You know what? Creflo Dollar would say, well, if the cuss is in you, it's going to come out.
Yeah.
Right? Never one time have I
Wow.
ever cussed.
I'm impressed, girlfriend.
Never. And it was just my first language was cussing.
Yeah, that's what you said.
So
That's
I
why I
never
wanted to
did.
know how,
Yeah.
because it still comes out. It does. It does. And that's why I wanted to know.
But God is so good.
God is so good.
And you know what? People say, like, you know, Julieann, you're so passionate, but why would you not be passionate about the one that saved you, that set you free? Of just, I mean, just everything. He turned me into a new creature in Christ. I mean, I am a new creature. I'm a new creation. You cannot tell me that you just heard in the last 4 episodes that what my life was like. You cannot tell me that this is not
a supernatural hearing.
I mean,
healing.
This is the Almighty God that wants a relationship with you. That was the main thing that was missing. I did not know him as Father. I knew him as God. I knew him in the Bible, but I had to know him as my dad. I would lay on my floor at times to the kids. I'd take them to school. I would lay on my floor and just scream into my pillow. So that, because my mom lived with us, I didn't want her to hear. So I didn't want her to, and the dogs to get, my dog to sit there and watch me. I know they were probably going, what is wrong with her? I'd scream in my pillow to get this out of me. And literally the Lord pulled it all out of me. And again, for me, listen, there are people that it is immediate, and I want it to be. I mean, how many lines I went in, prayer lines where they put their hand on my forehead, and I'm like, this is it. Oh my God, it's still here.
Yeah.
I over and over and over, and it never worked for me. But see, God wanted to do something on the inside of me, not just the outside. He wanted to change my heart. He wanted my heart to become his heart.
And now you stand at the top and you are praying for people at these healing lines. I see it all the time at all of the conferences. Julieann, I don't think you understand how much you're helping people. And your story is touching people's hearts and telling them about your journey is helping them know that they have an opportunity to be healed as well.
Oh, absolutely. We cannot settle for anything less. You know, I picture Jesus up there, and he's looking at me, and he says, I took it all. Please give it to me, because we're holding on to so many things we don't even realize we're holding on to. We may say, well, my past is my past, like who cares? And we'll make jokes about it. But there's still some darts in your heart that have not been filled in with the love of Jesus. I call it love putty, right? The love goes into those holes. But he is the one that literally that I would look. I've got a little picture of him that someone gave me, and I put it right where in my kitchen, in my bathroom, right by the mirror. And I look at him every night. And I thank him every night. I mean, every morning and every day. You know, you go and you use the bathroom like he's right there right by my sink. But I thank him every day, because I would not either be here right now. I mean, I wouldn't be here. We know that. But I may not even be here on this earth right now. I don't know where I would be. But he literally saved my life. No one is ever going to tell me to tone it down, take it down. No.
Do people tell you to do that?
Oh, people do. They're like, oh, the passion. It seems like you're yelling at me. I'm not yelling. I really am not yelling. I know it can seem that way.
You sometimes get misunderstood.
I do, but I just hate seeing anybody in lack. I hate seeing anybody in bondage, because I was in bondage. I mean, I might have been walking around, but you might as well have just taken, a rope and just tied me up, because that's how much I was in bondage to my own self, and I will never, ever stop yelling on the rooftops of buildings about who Jesus is and what he did for me. And he can do it for you too. He actually is doing it for you. That's why you're watching, you're intrigued. You're saying, I want to know who that is. Just talk to him. He's not mad at you. He doesn't want to punish you. He doesn't want to send you to hell like what I thought. He wants a relationship. Please just ask him the hard questions. Let him reveal some things to you as he wills, because he knows you can't handle all of it. Like I said, if he would have just taken that, the trunk and said, here, bam, there it is, Julieann, look at your life. No, he unveiled things as I went. And then I went with Andrew showing me about the one day I'm cooking, the one day I'm in my kitchen cooking. And I've got Andrew on, and he's just like talking.
Butch did not tell me about that one day you cooked.
But Andrew's just talking like he does, and he says, you already have everything that you need. Mm-hmm. And that had been spoken so many times.
But you finally got it.
That day, all of a sudden it went ding. And I said, wait a minute. I have been living far less than what Jesus did for me on that cross. I have been not living in the fullness of what he already did for me. I have everything I need. What am I looking for? What am I searching for? Why am I going to this person and that doctor and this and that? He gave me everything that I need. And when I found that out, that's when I started studying about the authority of the believer.
Well, Julieann, don't ever stop shouting it from the rooftop. This has been an amazing time for me, and I hope it's been an amazing time for you. And I have a feeling there's a lot more that we can uncover if we were to do another episode. But for now, this is the end of this journey with Julieann Hartman. We just thank you for being with us, and we hope that her story has touched many, many hearts.
Yes.
And thank you. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you guys so much. And just keep watching at all these teachers on our platform. It's not just the journeys, but it's someone's journey, but the teaching is so important. That teaching gets into your heart, and it will change your heart. But the most important thing is to have a relationship, a personal one with Jesus. Not the personal relationship with your pastor's Jesus, but your Jesus. That one, the one that died for you, the specific Jesus. And so that's what changed my life. That's what changed everything around. He wants to have a relationship with you daily, hourly, minute by minute. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And we will see you again someday. No, we'll see you on Tuesday for my teaching, Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. I love you all, and I love you. And I'm so appreciative of Connie and our studio audience back there, John, for giving me this opportunity. And Sophia back there, but for giving me the opportunity to come out and just talk about Jesus and use your set and everything else. But I'm so thankful for everything. So love you guys. We'll see you next time.